So good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the College Leaders 2024 Awards Ceremony. I'm Kenro Kusumi, Senior Vice Provost and Dean of the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences here at Arizona State University. The College Leaders program began in 1997, and out of more than 130,000 alumni from the college, only 86 have been honored with this award. The college leaders represent a growing global network of alumni who have used their degrees in the humanities, natural sciences, and social sciences to establish successful, fulfilling careers and make a difference in their communities. We have some of our past the college leaders with us today, joining us both in person and virtually. And I invite those who are here with us in person to stand so we can recognize you. Thank you all for being here, for being exceptional role models and individuals the college is proud to call our alumni. Today, we are here to recognize our 2024 The College Leaders honorees from each of our three divisions, as well as 153 student leaders identified by faculty as the top of their class out of over 30,000 students in the college. And also, I'd like to thank our chairs and directors from our various academic units who are here to support our students in receiving this honor for their hard work. Would you mind standing for those chairs and directors who are here? So now we will hear from our 2024 The College Leaders who will each discuss key experiences that shaped their lives here at ASU, what a typical day in their current careers looks like, and what qualities they think make for a strong leader. So the college divisional deans will introduce each new leader, and I will begin on behalf of the Dean of Natural Sciences, who is unable to be here today. So it's my pleasure to introduce Carmen Heredia, who is the director of the Arizona Healthcare Cost Containment System, or ACCESS, Arizona's Medicaid and CHIP program, overseeing the provision of acute behavioral health and long-term care services and supports to more than 2.5 million Arizona residents at an annual cost of $22 billion. So that's a big responsibility. Prior to joining ACCESS, Heredia was the CEO of Valle de Sol, a provider organization delivering integrated behavioral and primary health care health as a federally qualified health center and a federally certified community behavioral health center. Throughout her career, Heredia has been passionately advocating for access to quality health care and education in underserved populations. She has served on a variety of government task forces and boards, including St. Joseph's Hospital and Medical Center, the Arizona Council of Human Service Providers, the National Council of Behavioral Health, the Mesa Arts Center Foundation, and the President's ASU Community Council and Center for the Future of Arizona, amongst others. In 2022, she was appointed by Governor Katie Hobbs as part of the Cabinet of Executive Officers. She is a member of the Governor's Interagency and Community Council on Housing and Homelessness and the Governor's Council to Combat Human Trafficking in Arizona. Heredia is a 2024 Medicaid Leadership Institute Fellow and a 2021 Virginia G. Piper Fellow, as well as an alum of the Hispanic Leadership Institute and the ASU Lodestar Nonprofit Leadership Academy. In addition to her psychology degree here from the college, she received her master's degree in social work from ASU. Please welcome Carmen Heredia to the podium.
Thank you, Dean. That was a great introduction. It's embarrassing to be the center of attention, but I'm so happy to be here because this is where I started, right? I started as one of you as a student at ASU, and the school asked us to give a little bit of our backgrounds, and that's what I'll do. I have to think back to when I first started at ASU. I was a freshman in 01, which happened to be the last year that Laddie Kaur was serving as president. And in 02, President Crow started, and just the difference that we've seen from the ASU that was to the ASU that is under that new American university that President Crow talks about so much is phenomenal. I grew up here in Tempe. I was born in Mexico, grew up in Tempe, and to see the campus transform is just amazing. So that is just a big difference from, what I saw as a kid here in town. And to me, I came from a small high school into college. And I remember some of those impactful things to me as a student was the diversity that I saw on campus, the opportunity and the number of people that were willing to help you and give you exposure to different things. So I really tried to take advantage of all of that when I was a student. And at the time, you're juggling how to balance your time between going to school full time and starting to work and get other experiences. Everybody's figuring that out when they're in college. One of my most memorable experiences from my undergraduate degree was when I was a research assistant under the psychology department in a program that was led by Nancy Gonzalez, who now became the vice president and provost for the university. And so that's a really great memory for me. I served under her 4 years while I was here at the college. And the other thing that was really impactful was the scholarship opportunity that made it possible for me to go to ASU. I was a Los Diablos scholarship recipient. That scholarship is still available to students. I don't know if anybody here in the room is a Los Diablo alum or a student currently, but that program provided mentorship. And I think I really accredit the mentorship through that scholarship that led to everything else in my career. When you meet someone that introduces you to someone that introduces you to someone else, if you follow up with people that you meet along the way, that opens the door to so much opportunity and, you know, ability to grow and develop yourself. Another thing that happened as an undergrad is I met my husband. And so I actually got married during my master's, and we were both bachelor's and master students here at ASU. And so that was another outcome of those years during that time. But the development, the working, the decisions I made to go from direct practice, I really started wanting to, as a psychology major, serve people directly. And I saw myself as a future psychiatrist or psychologist, figuring out through work and through mentorship that that wasn't exactly what was going to be appropriate for me. I turned more towards administration and public administration and trying to learn the business skills that would help me create a bigger impact to the community versus the one-on-one approach that I started. And we need people doing one-on-one work, of course. For me personally, I learned through some very hard direct cases that I worked on that I wanted to take that more public policy, larger scale approach. So I think that that's one of the opportunities in college, that you try things, you see what works for you see what you change, and you end up going along that path that really fits best with you. As Dean Kasumi shared, I'm now leading a humongous agency. I have 1,400 staff, a $23 billion budget that I have to manage. We provide healthcare for 2.1 million Arizonans. That is the Access program here, the Medicaid program, you know it as Access in Arizona. We cover 50% of the births in the state. And we finance healthcare for that Medicaid population that needs access to primary care and preventative care services, as well as acute care. So we're directly, paying providers, hospital systems. We're pass through for graduate medical education dollars, GME programs. We manage a great variety of things, including the long-term care program for Arizona. So for seniors or people that are disabled that need long-term care settings, those approvals come through Access if you're not familiar with the program. That's a bit of a background. Another piece that the agency does is being the mental health authority for the state and the opioid response authority. These are really, really big jobs that apply not just for that Medicaid population, but for all citizens in the state. So that means I have to, as a leader, manage people, manage staff. I have to work in a political environment, manage politics, and understand the political strategy around getting things done. I have to negotiate on a daily basis, negotiate with pharmaceutical companies, with hospitals, with the health industry, with lobbyists, and figure out payment rates, legislation, and make decisions all along the way. So I'm making decisions personally. I tried to count one day about how many decisions did I make in one day, and I lost track at some point. And I'm not normally talking about myself in a bragging way. I hope it doesn't come across as bragging. I'm trying to tell you, these are the opportunities and jobs that are out there that you can do. And it takes that development and that leadership aspiration to end up in roles like that. If you're interested in healthcare, I'd love to talk to you. If you're interested in anything political or interested in anything else and want to talk to me, please come up to me. And then one of the other questions we were asked to address is what qualities are necessary in becoming a leader? I think I'm conscious that you're always being observed. You're being observed by a lot of different people, whether it's your staff or maybe peers, competitors. People are looking at you all the time, and you have to be comfortable with that. You have to be comfortable with that constant observation. And you have to be emotionally resilient to deal with that pressure and that observation, the decisions you're making and the impact that they have. In my case, some of the decisions are life or death. Are we going to cover this? It's going to mean yes or no for surgeries for a whole population of people, or for the number of nursing care days that are covered under the benefit of the program. And that's a responsibility that I don't take lightly. So making sure that you have informed people around you to help you make those decisions, because you have to recognize you don't know everything. I'm certainly not an expert in everything. I'm not a physician, and I work in a healthcare space that's going to be full of those medical criteria and clinical decision making. I have to have teams of doctors, not just one doctor, but lots of different voices around me to help inform decisions. And I spoke about emotional resilience. I think somebody gave me an adage once that if you're not afraid, then you're not leading, which can be intimidating. But that made me, when I heard that at first, welcome the fact that even leaders that you think have it all together are also afraid in what they're doing. They might not be showing it and they have confidence, but you have to work through that in order to take those risks and those chances, and you push through that in order to lead, because at the end of the day, if you're not doing it, someone else is going to be in that role making those decisions. And I choose that level of responsibility because I feel that I am appropriately doing the work that I'm doing. Knowing yourself, what are your weaknesses and your triggers, and having that insight and that personal awareness is very important. And I think it's very important to understand how to lead down, so your staff and people that report to you, lead across, to your peers. And in my case, that's sister state agencies, other cabinet leaders, other political figures and administrators, and lead up. In my case, it's the governor's office, the governor, and what expectations I'm setting. So you're leading in all directions if you think of leadership in that way. Those are some thoughts I wanted to share with the group, and thank you for having me. This is a tremendous honor. Thank you so much.
Hi, everyone. I'm Magda Hinojosa. I'm the Dean of Social Sciences here in the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, and I have the distinct pleasure today of introducing Dimitri Hurt. Dimitri was born and raised here in Phoenix, Arizona, and came to ASU, where he received a bachelor's degree in justice studies. Hurt then moved on to San Diego, California, where he attended Thomas Jefferson School of Law on an academic scholarship. In his final year in law school, Hurt secured a very prestigious and highly coveted judicial clerkship with the Honorable Judge Trina Thompson of the of the Alameda County Superior Court. In 2014, he then landed, after graduating from law school, a position as an associate attorney at a boutique law firm in Beverly Hills, California, and simultaneously began a talent management company where he grew multiple clients into household names with millions and millions of followers. He then co-founded in 2015 O'Connor and Hurt PC, a law firm that specializes in servicing the needs of entertainers. He has successfully represented countless platinum recording artists, producers, executives, and their teams. Dimitri is now entering his 10th year as a licensed attorney. Please help me welcome Dimitri Hurt to the podium.
Well, first of all, thank you to Arizona State University for giving us these beautiful awards and giving us the opportunity to speak to the students. As we just discussed, we were asked to speak about 3 different topics: our life at ASU, typical day in our career, and qualities of a strong leader. So my story is a little bit different. In fact, I enlisted in the Navy when I was 17 years old, and that was my plan. I was a huge, and still am a huge, fan of the military. For whatever reason, I was released from the military, and on my first day back here in Arizona, I had a scholarship offer from Arizona State University. So I said, okay, I guess I'm supposed to be going to school instead. I was always a good student, but I was the first person in my family to go to college. So we really didn't know even simple things like FAFSA. Didn't know that you could go to school, get most of it paid for if you just apply. And they never really taught us that. So in any event, once I did that, I started my program of justice studies, which was like a pre-law type of degree back then. I don't think they had an actual pre-law designation back then. And what I first noticed when I came to ASU back then, there weren't the downtown campus didn't exist. There was the main campus. I think West had just started, I think. And I just remember because of that, all the colleges were here. So there was, I don't know, probably, I believe at the time, like 30, 40,000 students on campus. So, which was amazing, but also it was a lot going on. So my approach was to find a group of people that I could identify with and kind of make the experience smaller and more intimate. So I ended up rushing a fraternity called Omega Delta Phi, and that's where I learned a lot of the things that I apply in my business life. I was a president. I learned how to fundraise. I learned the value of community service, and Robert's Rule of Order. I remember that, which was decorum and voting, and all those things kind of apply into my professional life now. So I guess I'll segue from that into what I do on a daily basis. So I originally went to law school because I wanted to work with children. I wanted to do juvenile delinquency dependency law, which is basically the criminal justice system for juveniles and for kids that are in the foster care system. When I finished law school, there weren't any jobs. So my sister, I tell this story a lot. My sister was dating this guy who was an aspiring artist, and she said, "Hey, you should check out this guy. He's really good." And I was like, "Okay, well, I need some clients. Let me figure this out." So she sends me the music video, and I'm watching it, and he was terrible. Guy couldn't sing at all. It was awful. But the guy that he was featuring for was his name was Mystic. He was a rapper, and he was really good. So I said, "Hey, I'm just finishing law school. I'm looking for clients. I'll work for free." And he was like, "Well, I don't need a lawyer. My brother's a lawyer. I need a manager." And at the time, I didn't know what the heck a manager was. And what I had seen was all bad things about them. Plus, I just racked up $200,000 in law school debt. So I'm a lawyer. I'm not no damn manager. I want to be a lawyer. So my big plan was basically to just to get in, just to get your foot in the door. And that's something for the students. You guys, if somebody doesn't hand it to you, you got to figure out a way to make it happen. And that's what I did. So from there, I started working with this artist named Mystic. At the time, he had maybe 40,000 followers. I turned out to be a really good manager, and we're adding 200,000 new followers every single month for like 3 or 4 years straight. We were the #1 most watched channel on all of YouTube at one point. So because of that, um, every other entertainer, if you were Black or Latino and you lived in LA, I probably represented you either as a manager or as a lawyer. And that's kind of how I got in the game on that. So my day to day, which is the second thing they want us to talk about, consists of one moment I'm helping one of my entertainment clients. Like last night, we had a Netflix premiere for a show that one of my guys is on. But just earlier in the morning, I was in court fighting over a slip and fall for one of my clients that slipped in a grocery store. So every day is different. Every day is different, which keeps things interesting, of course. The last thing I want to touch on, which is the qualities of a strong leader. I wrote down delegation, accountability, and leading by example. I'd also add discipline. In growing my firm on the law firm side of things, we went from it was really 2 of us for the longest, and now we're at 15 employees over the last. It just really happened in the last year or so now. And I learned that you can't do everything yourself. You have to trust others, but it is also comes down to your hiring process, vetting people. Um, I used to want to do, I guess, favors, but now it's more like who really is the most qualified, because you don't want to keep retraining people, and it really slows down your business when you have to keep doing that. So um, delegation was huge for me. And then holding people accountable, and make sure they're hitting their goals, what they're supposed to be doing. If they're not doing it, then you need to either retrain. And at a certain point, you can only retrain so much. You got to let them go if they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. Um, and I think that shows strong leadership by knowing that, and knowing what's right for your business. Um, Last, I would say in discipline, I think that's the key to everything. Having discipline and being consistent is just going to take you through the roof. Whether it's starting off simple with just a daily routine, which is something I do. I do 5, 6 things every day on routine. And I think I've seen my life transform by being disciplined, by just doing the same thing every day. And what's really cool is when I'm a big social media user myself, documenting it and finding out that people really are watching and are motivated and say, hey, I actually did X, Y, and Z today because I saw that you did it. Or well, I saw you didn't do it the other day, and they hold you accountable. It goes back to the accountability thing. I'm like, dang, they got me. So it's a double-edged sword, because sometimes you don't feel like doing it, but again, it holds you accountable, holds you to maintain that level of discipline. So in any event, I would say those are my leadership qualities that I'd like to highlight for you. And in closing, again, thank you for selecting me for this prestigious award. And if you have any questions, I'll be around. Let me know.
Hi, everyone, and good evening and welcome. I'm Jeffrey Cohen. I'm the Dean of Humanities here at ASU, and it is my pleasure to introduce Bud Cole. One thing I just want to say before I start is one of the things I really love about tonight, and I hope every student in the audience takes note of this, is that what unites our college leaders, I think this is true of Carmen, this is true of Dimitri, there are people who took what was made possible for them here and made it their own. They forged their own path, and in some ways they lived a whole variety of lives, right? Many things were possible to them. It's an honor to introduce Bud for that same reason. When I went to sketch out my introductory remarks, I realized they would go on forever. But it did hit me, and I won't go on forever, don't worry. It did hit me that I was just thinking back to how I met Bud, and it came about from an email from March of 2023. So I want to read just a little bit of that email because I think he says better than I can what ASU enables for our students. So this is an email from Bud, March 9th, 2023. This is kind of sent it to ASU. Hello. I'm writing in response to an article published on 6 March 2023 called The End of the English Major in the New Yorker that was passed to me by a retired college English professor. It highlighted the fact that university English departments are being decimated all over the country, while at the same time, some universities are fighting back. ASU was recognized as one of the shining stars of the program. My friend suggested I contact you with my story because I loved ASU, I loved my major, even if I wasn't the best student. In fall 1986, I moved from Chicago to Tempe to begin my college studies. Early on, I decided to become an English major because I wanted to learn how to write, communicate, improve my public speaking, and express myself. As I said, I was not the greatest student, but I loved the material and the professors. Even though the story of my time at ASU and how I ultimately came to graduate is epic, the story is epic, and I know it's about to be shared, so I'm not going to give away any spoilers, but for those of you about to graduate, you're going to have a nightmare after you hear this story. But it's going to be okay, I promise you. He says he graduated, and today I am the president of Fender Music Corporation for Asia Pacific, the world's #1 electric guitar, bass, and amplifier brand. Prior to becoming president of Fender, I held executive positions at companies like Ralph Lauren, Japan, the second largest maker for the brand after the USA, senior vice president of QVC in Japan, president of the LVMH Group, the Pernod Ricard, the commercial, they're a beverage and wine and spirits distributor. And then he writes here, and I know it's already wrong because Bud never stops achieving. He says, I've lived and worked in over 65 countries in the world. I think you're up to over 70 at this point. Keeps on going. Speak Japanese and currently move between Tokyo, Japan and Eagle River, Michigan. And he's a passionate preservationist, especially of lighthouses in Michigan. But here's the part that really hit me, and it really is so important for me to convey it to students who ask me why study the humanities. Studying English at ASU and graduating with a BA in English prepared me for the world after graduation, helped me to develop my job skills in companies and excel because of the amazing skills of writing, analytical thinking, communication, debate, research, articulation report, and business writing, and overall expression. While other people had better on-paper relevant degrees, I excelled because ASU gave me the skills to learn quickly and share what I learned in a way that my audiences understood. These differences made the world to me. And then he says, keep on doing what you're doing. It's needed and it's noble. I have to say, I've known Bud for a short 18 months, but everything that he does is needed and it's noble. I've never met someone who's so determined to just pay it back. He spent his morning with our students. He's always been here reaching out to try to inspire others. And I look forward to the story he'll tell tonight. Bud, welcome up.
Wow. Let's see here. All right, get some notes going. Thanks, Jeffrey. I'm going to share some of what he's already spoken about. And then I'm going to kind of take you on a journey, my own journey, and then some of the things that I think it takes to succeed and to lead. So as Jeffrey explained, in August of 1986, I came to Arizona State University from Palatine, Illinois,
with an excitement and an anticipation that I had never experienced in my life. For the first time in my life, as the youngest of 5 kids, I was on my own, and I was loving it. I was in a popular band during that time when the live music scene here in Arizona was on fire. And I chose my degree as an English major, at first because I wanted to express myself through song, through lyrics and poetry, because I wanted to inspire people. And truth be told, it was also the only major where I did not have to take calculus, geometry, algebra, or any mathematics under that particular catalog. In 1991, I finished what I thought was my last class at ASU. I walked directly from the English building. I hope I don't get in trouble for this. I threw my folders up in the air. I got in a tour bus and I traveled and went on tour with my band through the Southwest, and I had graduated, or at least I thought I had graduated. Fast forward to April 2000, 9 years later. I was living my life in London, working and traveling all over the world for what is now the #1 French wine and spirits company, Groupe Pernod Ricard. I just received news that I was being transferred to Tokyo, Japan, which was an absolute dream of mine. At that time in Japan, you needed college transcripts, you needed a diploma to get to work, get to a work visa in Japan. And so I called ASU and I said, hey, can you send me my transcripts and my diploma? And the helpful and kindly lady on the phone said, certainly, Mr. Cole, I can send you your transcripts, but I cannot send you your diploma. You never graduated. Wait a second, what do you mean? What do you mean? She said, well, most certainly you had a lot of credits. You took many swimming courses, many golf courses, human sexuality, biology of Arizona, history of Arizona, everything about Arizona. But unfortunately, you have 2 incompletes in core English courses because in 1987, my second semester, and you're 6 credits short of graduating. It all came crashing down on me, believe me. I had broken my ankle just before finals in my second semester and left school to recover back in Chicago. So I said, listen, here's the deal. I want to take the courses right here in London. I'll do a 6-week course and I'll be done. She laughed and gently but firmly said to me, nope, you need to come back to ASU. Now keep in mind, back then there was not online courses, there wasn't all this accessibility. And I said, hang on a second. I said I live in London, England. They invented English, okay? She said, sorry, you need to come back to ASU. You can imagine, my dream has just been shattered. So I swallowed my pride. I went to our CEO and I said, hey, I didn't actually graduate from university. I've been telling everyone I have for 9 years, but I didn't. And he said, Bud, you travel 250 days out of the year. You bring great value to this company. We believe in you. Go back to ASU and get your friggin' degree, okay? And come back, and you have to close and finish this part of your life. Wow. I mean, that was some great leadership for me. You're going back to school as a 33-year-old man. Enjoy it. 6 weeks later, I checked into the Tempe Mission Palms, asked my best friend Evan to come and see me for lunch at school. And when we met, I told him, I'm here to take 2 courses. I did graduate. Because you're back at ASU, you're going back to school. That's the coolest thing in the world. I'm telling everybody. I said, you can't tell anybody. The shame was heavy, right? I was mortified and I was embarrassed. He promised not to, and so, as good friends did, we went out and had a cold one. I bought a Schwinn Beach Cruiser, a few pairs of beach shorts, some volleyball t-shirts, flip-flops. And Monday, there used to be a great little kind of cafe in town here called the College Street Deli. I had my iced tea and my bagel, and I went back to school. I was 33 years old, and the 2 courses I took were the study of the Bible as literature, which was fascinating from that literary perspective and not from a theological perspective. And I took another course, which was called, it was called Literature for Adolescents. So it was a teacher's course. It was like a 400 or 500 level course that taught teachers, future teachers, how to teach people, young people in grade school and in high school, how to, the great literature that was available to them. And so I really, it was, I have to tell you, I got 2 A's in that class. I had a completely new perspective on school. And it was one of the richest and most rewarding times of my life, I can tell you. And after, not the 4-year plan, not the 5-year plan, the 14-year plan, I finally graduated from Arizona State University. Arigato. Thank you. So this experience taught me 2 important lessons. First, getting started is always very important. Yes. But it is the last 10% of everything that makes the difference in the world. And it is where most people fail because they think they have time. They think they can put the brakes on a little bit. I can get to it. Do not make that mistake. Okay? They casually, you've seen the races where people are running and they're about to casually cross the finish line and someone passes them. Okay? Don't make that mistake. The lesson I learned from this experience was double down and triple down your efforts in the last 10% and do not stop until you finish. By doing so, you will be known as a finisher, and it has made a huge difference in my career. The other thing it taught me was be strict with yourself, but be kind to yourself. Some of the biggest mistakes and missteps and mishaps can turn in, as this is an example, to major experience and success. And at the very least, as in my case, a really kind of cool and funny story, right? So why did I study English literature? I'd always loved reading and expressing myself through writing from the time I was a kid. At ASU, I was exposed to so much through the colorful stories, essays, plays, and poetry of Frost, Whitman, Thoreau, Wollstonecraft, Shakespeare, Wilke, and so many others. I could learn how to imagine widely, think intensely, analyze deeply, and I could get things done. Finishing a book is not an easy task, especially some of the books that I read. I especially learned how to express my ideas, my inclinations, my inspirations, and my motivations through colorful and powerful and inspirational, yet succinct words, getting them out of my heart and out of my head onto paper. And amazingly, when you do that, they become real. More often than not, they become real. And from there, it taught me to build missions and strategies and detailed plans. And then by doing that, having those vibrant missions and effective strategies and concrete plans, I could inspire others to join me, and I could lead them, and we could do anything, and we could make it real. I learned the first step of making anything meaningful real was to get it on paper and begin the process. It was through this that I was able to make sense out of my life and build my own way, working and living and operating. By doing so has helped me lead people successfully across the companies that Jeffrey mentioned. It was the foundation in teaching me a philosophy and a foundation for leading myself. And by leading myself, I could lead others. So 3 things that are, I think, foundational, that when I was at ASU and afterwards, I used my studies in English literature to just come up with this very basic, simple philosophy that I could understand to make a difference in my life. And hopefully you can apply it and make a difference in yours. Before we do anything, we must have courage. And keep in mind, courage comes in many forms and is a muscle and a skill that allows us to open up the doors and walk boldly out into our lives. It takes courage to make a friend. It takes courage to tell someone you love them and have them love you back. It takes courage to believe in a God that you cannot see or in no God at all. It takes courage to go one direction when the crowd says go in the other direction. It takes courage to believe that you can do something, even when you don't have the skills to do it yet. It takes courage to focus on one thing versus another. Without courage, there is really nothing. You can't even walk out the door into life. But once you develop and grow your muscle of courage, it is rewarded with confidence, and people will naturally start to follow you. Next, once you develop courage, you begin to develop skills and capabilities. And I recommend unique complementing skills, which will make you special in the marketplace. In the great words of one of my mentors, James Rohn, one of my favorite philosophers, he said, do not ask for life to be easier. Instead, develop the skills and capabilities to make it easier. Book by book, class by class, experience after experience, walk out of the darkness and into the light. You know, there's an exceptional, albeit I have to say dry book by Robert Greene called Mastery, which is an amazing study of developing a few complementary exceptional skills that can make you unique and extraordinary through mastering those skills. As your skills and capabilities grow, so does your influence. An ability to lead grows, as well as people, again, with skills, people want to follow someone who has skills, and naturally they will follow you. Finally, once you've developed the muscle of courage and mastered this unique set of skills, you now have the confidence and capabilities to break new ground and develop your own personal style. And through this unique personal style, all things are imagined and born. And it is through this process of courage, skill, and style that you can lead and make a difference. And I can tell you that it has made a difference throughout my life and through my career. Helen Keller, who should be an inspiration to all, said, life is a great adventure or nothing. I urge all of you to make yours an adventure and set on the foundation of courage, skill, and your own personal style. I want to close by congratulating Carmen and Dimitri. It is an honor to be in your greatness and your presence. Thank you for including me. I'd also want to thank ASU and Dean Jeffrey Cohen and Brittany Martin, who originally I reached out to years ago, as you heard. Thank you so much. Thank you. And I also want to thank Dean Kenro Kasumi. Yoroshiku onegai shimasu. Hontou ni arigatou gozaimasu. Thank you so much. And finally, to all the students and the leaders attending here today, your future is so bright, it burns my eyes, seriously. Remember to always expect the best. You have the right to expect the best, but you have the responsibility to be your best. So go out there and be your best. Arigato. Thank you. Thanks so much.
Wow, three amazing, stories from three inspirational leaders. Could you give another hand for just them sharing this with us? So we are so fortunate to be able to now have some question and answers. I know some of you may want to catch the leaders individually, but this is a great chance to kind of ask that question that that you want to have everyone hear. So I invite the leaders to come up, and we've got 3 microphones. Thank you. And I invite the students and the community that's here to start with the first question. Go ahead.
I think what comes to mind is this open-mindedness of, that sense of exposure. So you have a degree you selected, classes you selected, and then there are all these other opportunities to meet people, to go to a guest lecture, to go to different events, to get involved with different clubs. And that gives you additional exposure and more people to meet. And then following up on all those things because you don't know what you don't, you know, what might inspire you. You don't know what you don't know, right? You don't know what else you can develop and what other connection might be out there. So I think of open-mindedness and that kind of involvement that could really expose you to a lot of things.
I would say, um, two things. I would say networking. I'd piggyback off that. That's the key to everything, really. Um, Everything's really based off of personal relationships. It's gonna get you, that job 9 times out of 10. It's not gonna be you applying, especially in the current, job market. So it's a big part of my life is I'm out and about meeting people. And one of my mottos I follow is chase the lead down till it's dead. Either it turned into something or it didn't. But also you got to know when to cut it off, you know? And then my other thing I would say is for me, ASU or college university life is your first opportunity at being an adult and doing your own thing. You know, most people, I know he was 33 when he came back, but most I suspect are 18, you know, fresh out of high school. So I think it's your first time for the students to be an adult. And I know you still have your parents for the most part kind of guiding, but it's your first opportunity to really balance all the different things that come with being in school, from actual work to uh, the peer pressures and uh, yeah, I'll say that the peer pressures that come with it. And you know, this is ASU. I love ASU, and as you know what our reputation, or at least back then, I'm not quite sure if it's still the party school, but when I was here, um, and we loved that title. We held that title down. So as a result, something I left out of my speech, what I meant to include, it was that I was having just entirely too much fun as the president of my fraternity, and I have a whole 17-year-old son now, right there. That's here. So, and also I met my wife here at ASU. I had already graduated, and she was, I think she was a sophomore, and I was my first year out, I think. So anyway, network, and you know, learn how to juggle those adult responsibilities you now have out of high school.
I agree with everything they said. Fantastic. Uh, what I would also add is a great bit of advice that I received quite a while ago, but has stuck with me is wherever you are, be there. Okay, right now you're at ASU and you're studying. And you think about the hundreds of years and the brains and all the intellect and the books and the access you have to all these people who have solved all these problems that you get to learn about. You're going to have the chance to get out in the big bad world. Trust me. The time that you're here, be very, very focused and take the time to really be here and enjoy it and to learn and to study and take this opportunity to prepare yourself. Because as they say, if you have a 1 foot kind of in yesterday and your next foot in tomorrow, you're going to trip over today. Okay, so enjoy this moment, believe me. It will go faster than you can imagine. I know a lot of people want to get out of school and get on to the next step and get a job and all that, but take this time, get focused, and enjoy it, because unless you stay in university and continue, there's nothing ever like it again in life. And so that would be my recommendation. Behold.
Thank you. And I guess maybe we can get, is there an extra mic to give out to the audience so we can have here? So let's see, I'm going to try to look for hands. Anyone have a next question? Okay.
Hi, I'm Sunny Cave. Congratulations on your awards. I'm a prior award winner, and I'm also in the Met Your Spouse at ASU Club. So congratulations on that as well. My question is, if you look at the world today and what's going on with higher education, there's a lot of pressures on universities in this country. Based on your experience at ASU and what you've learned since graduating in your stellar careers, if you could be advising Michael Crow, what's the top thing you would tell him?
What would I advise? Again, I think I just would repeat what I just said, is take this time and immerse yourself in it. It is a gift. It is a gift not afforded to everyone. Really think about this. And it is a moment, and it will go by. And again, you will have that chance to get out in the big bad world. But take this time and all the resources here and these amazing professors and counselors and all these people that will help you, prepare you to build a foundational skill set. So when you get out there, you can apply those skills, and you've created a flow in your brain preparing you to learn. Because believe me, when you get into your next gig, there's going to be a lot of new skills you're going to learn. They're going to teach you how to operate in this world. Some of it's going to be good learning. Some of it's, you're going to learn how to do things. Some of it's going to be, you're going to learn how to not do things. Okay? Those are never pleasant, by the way.
Advising Crow. I would say, I'm a fan. I live in LA, and I love um, I heard earlier today, something about, uh, real estate, and ASU is just kind of taking over everything. And it's even in downtown Los Angeles. I don't know if if anybody even knows, they bought FITM. It's not even FITM anymore. It's not the Fashion Institute. It's ASU now. So I love the approach. I love go get it all. I love all the opportunities that he provides for the students. Uh, it kind of goes into what I was saying earlier, which is to make sure that you're networking. So at this point, I mean, I feel like under following what he's doing, you could be anywhere you need to be to make a play, but it's up to you. I always tell people I can put you in front of people, but I can't make them, mess with you and like you. So I think that's kind of his thing too. He'll get you in front of there, and you gotta knock it out on your own.
I'm a big fan of Dr. Crow. I think he's a very competitive person, driven to be the best university at this and that, and sort of comparing and competing. And I think that maybe that's a drive for him. But he's an incredible leader. So talk about leadership. What he's done with the university and the time, I think 20 years. Did he just celebrate 20 years as leader? Transformative. I don't think there's a university leader that has created what he has, where you have this ASU everywhere approach in so many different locations across the world now. And I think while he's doing that, he's also advocating for communities to be able to access education. So he's not leaving communities behind. And I really, really admire that about President Crow, Dr. Crow. I don't know what I would advise him on other than don't leave ASU quite yet, please stick around. I really think that in hindsight, we'll recognize him as a genius of our time.
Thank you. I see a hand in the back. Sorry, Matthew. Thank you.
Hi there. My name is Sophie, and I'm a grad student in anthropology here at ASU. Thanks for spending this time with us tonight and teaching us from your vast experiences. I'm curious, given your situation or your positions of leadership, I assume that there are times when you have made what you feel like is a wrong decision, or you find yourself in situations where realizing that you haven't actually graduated from college when you thought you did, and how you respond or coach yourself in those moments of insecurity or fear.
As you're asking the question, what popped in my brain immediately was on the lawyer side of things that I do, taking on cases that you shouldn't take on. And that happens sometimes when as an entrepreneur, a case comes in through the door and it's not the best case, but as an entrepreneur, you have to get the case, you got to get the money, you have other staff that depend on you. So in those situations, I found that my biggest regret is undervaluing yourself. And it's not good to take on situations when you're, I don't want to say desperate, but when you wouldn't ordinarily take it on. So for me, that's happened. I have a good, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 cases that I regret taking on. But ultimately, you still do your job. You do a good job for your client, and they refer you more cases. You just take a beating on that one, and you get them back on the next one.
I think you have to have the mindset that failure is good. Hopefully, your failure isn't so bad and devastating that, it destroys everything and it goes down a blazing. But normally, failure is going to be a positive thing because you're going to grow from it, learn from it, not make the same mistake. It gives you grit, resilience, and an opportunity to build things back up. And then as a leader, you have to allow those that are following you to make mistakes and to have their own failures because it's part of growth. It's just part of life. It's part of growth. We're all failing at something any given day, any given moment.
So I have some good news and I have some bad news. The good news is there will be decisions that you'll have to make as a leader that are very clear-cut and very easy to make, and you will be right. That's the good news. And the bad news is unfortunately that's more rare than it's all the time, right? Oftentimes we have to make decisions under kind of 2 different circumstances. One is decisions between 2 things which are not particularly savory or nice, okay? That there will be results which will, not everything's the result, you're making a decision between 2 not great results, okay? That's the first thing. The second thing is that, and you have to get used to that. The second thing is that oftentimes to be a leader, you need to be able to deal with ambiguity because oftentimes you don't have all the information, but people are looking to you to guide you through the darkness and again, back into the light. And so it's to make the decision, get feedback, course correct. As long as you were saying, Carmen, you don't fall below the death line, game over. You get feedback, you correct. You get feedback, you correct. And I think getting comfortable with both those situations, because more often than not, you will be confronted with those situations as opposed to very clear-cut sort of value calls or commercial calls that are just so obvious. Get used to that.
And one other thing I'll add is taking accountability. When you do mess up, you have to own it. And people watch and observe that too. And you have to learn from it and maybe sometimes explain, we made the wrong decision. Here's what we're going to do about it.
If you want to get credibility with your teams, to your point, say, I'm sorry, I made a mistake, I'm human too. Authentically, genuinely, and mean it. And watch people love from time to time when people make a mistake and they own it. Do not shirk your responsibility in a wrong decision. Own it, admit it, and take it and move on.
Well, I know that you all probably want to talk with our amazing leaders at the reception. So another hand for thank you for joining us up front. So in closing, I'd just like to say a few words. So it is my pleasure to recognize the 2024 student leaders. So every year, every school and department in the college selects 10 students for their achievements in academics, extracurriculars, or other positive contributions. And we are thrilled to have you join us here this evening and would like to ask that you stand so we can recognize you. Thank you, and congratulations again for your hard work and contributions to ASU and the greater community. Each of you will emailed a digital certificate for this recognition. Deans, chairs, and directors, the college alumni leaders, past alumni leaders, and student leaders, thank you again for attending this important celebration. I would also like to thank the college development team, communications and events teams for organizing all of the logistics for today's events. Thank you again for attending, and please join us for a reception immediately afterwards. And of course, please, we're going to win tomorrow, right? So we're going to beat BYU tomorrow. So thank you very much.